Shabbat Shalom. Good evening, good Shabbos. Welcome to all those who are with us here in the sanctuary and those who are at home. We trust that this will be an enjoyable way to celebrate Shabbat and acknowledge the musical heritage that brings us together from all over the world. What we're actually doing tonight, let me explain, is on the one hand we're celebrating our musical heritage and tradition and blending together many different voices, different instruments, different melodies, different ethnic backgrounds to celebrate Shabbat. But we're also having a little bit of an experiment, and for this I'm very, very grateful to Ruth Ann, who is coordinating this. We're experimenting on being able to blend together that which I can serve as what's called the Shaliach Tzibur, the leader of the public worship here on the Bima, but also we will be blending in together on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur musical renditions provided by Cantor Ross Woolman from Temple Chai in Phoenix, as well as the opportunities for several of us to participate in Zoom discussion and class for various themes during the High Holy Days. So this is an experiment. We're relatively confident that everything will be a meaningful and enjoyable Shabbat. So again, words of welcome. The context that I would give to you as an opening prayer or statement in a sense is the following. It is said that when the children of Israel looked towards the temple in Jerusalem, the prayer, and it may be familiar to some of you, the prayer that was recited, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael u'tfilatam b'ahavat tikabel. A prayer to God to accept the prayers, the worship, the service, the music, every way that each individual or each separate community could bring their words, their thoughts, and their actions of prayer. Some were in Jerusalem, some were in the temple, others were miles away. But the prayer is that God would hear and God would accept in whichever manner the worship might have been expressed, through word, through music, through melody, just through simple kavanah of intention. So may that be our opening thought tonight for this Shabbat. Whether you are with us physically here in the sanctuary, socially distant, of course, whether you're at home in your own mikdash me'at, in your own little home private sanctuary, may God hear our prayers and accept them in love. Familiar melodies and the words, if you care to sing along, we probably won't hear you, but if you care to sing along, as Mike Finkelstein is going to be playing for us, Hinei Ma Tov and Yedid Nefesh, if you're following along in our Mishkan Tefillah, in our prayer book, it would be on page 10. you, Mike. Our ritual to light and bless our Shabbat candles on pages 2 and 3. Merdel, please.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanehu b'mitzvotav, yitzivanu lehalikner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Our Kiddush on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lemahaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim, ki vanu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Prayer for life and for good health. Continuing on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in days of old, as we said, the children of Israel would pray that their worship would be acceptable. Be'ahava tekabel, acceptable in love. And then in later generations, the concept developed of making Shabbat with a sense of oneg. Now, oneg can be translated as joy or celebration. Most of us, certainly before the COVID, thought of oneg Shabbat as the food that in the reception after the Shabbat service. So those of you at home, hope that you're having a piece of kichel or something for all of us and enjoying that. But the oneg of Shabbat is not just the food or the refreshment for the appetite, it's also refreshment for the soul. The joy in the celebration of Shabbat, which later generations said that should be especially with music. So that the sound of music, whether it's vocal, whether it's instrumental, should fill the sanctuary, especially in those areas and communities where there weren't enough people to fill the sanctuary. But those who were present with oneg and with kavanah, with joy and with meaning, would be able to fill the temple with the spirit of Shabbat and the inspiration of being together in community. So again, whether you are with us here in the sanctuary of the temple, whether you are in your small sanctuary of your home, may the oneg of this Shabbat, may the joy and the celebration of the music on this Shabbat be also acceptable to the one who is on high. Be'ahava tekabel. We continue on page, I have my note here, on page 145. Page 145. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yamad yivrach yidutei v'yamnich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon uv'chayechol beit Yisrael bahagala uv'izman kahariv v'meru amen Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olol me'omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shihirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yalma v'meru amen. I invite you to rise if you are comfortable in doing so. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam vaed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach she'arim u'bitvuna mishana itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'mesader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or u'ma'avir yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil ben yom u'vein layla Adonai tzavaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai hama'ariv haravim. Page 148. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world. In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth. In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder. In each age the children of Israel become stewards and seekers of the world. Baruch ata Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Continuing with the words of Deuteronomy, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. Responsively on page 151, we worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. Oh, when will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. For long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot oseh feled, nora tehilot oseh feled. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha, bokeh hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze lianu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'goalo mi'ad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. The prayer which is found on page 153, the Hashkivenu, this will be a composition, an interpretation of the prayer composed by Craig Taubman of Los Angeles. And this particular rendition is actually a gathering of a children's school choir from Fairfield, Connecticut. So again, we're including voices from all over the country and indeed from all over the world tonight. A prayer that the evening of Shabbat will bring us rest and peace.
Shalom, the holy day you
154. A statement and a prayer based on the theme of Oneg. Yismechu emalechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu emalechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadesheh Shevili Shabbat, Kulam Yishpehu V'yitangu mituvecha Shabbat, Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, Korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, chemdad yamin, oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reishit Shabbat, Zecher l'maaseh v'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Our tefillah, Amidah, the central part of our worship service, begins on page 155. We'll join together in chanting the first several pages, and then I will invite you to continue silently, privately, here in the sanctuary, at home, according to the words in the prayer book, or the thoughts and meditations of our own hearts. We'll continue up to the Shalom Rav, the prayer for peace, on page 164. So on page 155 now, the ark will be open. I invite you to rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Elehayod, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Sohomech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Kahayem Emunato, rishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atala hachayot hakol, baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Ata kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yaladucha, Selah, baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We continue privately until page 164. Many of you may be familiar with this interpretation of Shalom Rav, the evening prayer for peace, composed by Cantor Jeff Klepper, Rabbi Dan Freelander. They sing together as Kol Beseder. Now, Kol Beseder is a play on Hebrew words. The word kol, if it's spelled with the Hebrew letter kuf, can mean voice. So Kol Beseder would be the voice is in order, or the proper type of voice. But kol, if spelled with the letter kaf, can mean all or everything. Kol Beseder, everything is all right. It will be okay. And whether you approach their interpretation of the prayer for peace as a voice or as a reassuring statement, all will be okay. We listen now to Kol Beseder, Rabbi Dan Freelander, Cantor Jeff Klepper, in their interpretation, page 164.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Lechol hashalom, ki atahu melech adon. Lechol hashalom, shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך.
Shalom Ra'ah, Yisrael Ha'Singing Le'olam. Shalom Ra'ah, Yisrael Ha'Singing Le'olam.
כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום.
Shalom Ra'ah, Al Yisrael
חסיד לעולם.
Shalom Ra'ah, Al Yisrael Ha'Singing Le'olam. Ha'Singing Le'olam. Ha'Singing Le'olam. Ha'Singing Le'olam.
Another of our Beth Shalom Temple Center musicians, Dr. Steve Marin, invited him to share violin interpretation of two melodies that refer to the legacy of Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. So a moment or two of introduction, if you might. Rabbi Nachman, one of the most well-known and influential of the Hasidic teachers, was the great-grandson of Israel Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism. He only lived from 1772 to 1810. He battled despair and depression throughout his life. But much of his teaching came out of his solitude, his appreciation of being alone in nature, and of finding the opportunity with each breath, with each nefesh, with each neshama, with each opportunity to feel more and more of himself. He felt that he could become renewed and closer to God. Martin Buber wrote a biography of Rabbi Nachman, and he said the following: when man becomes worthy to hear the songs of the plants, how each plant speaks to God, how beautiful, how sweet it is to hear their singing, with every breath you drink in the air of paradise, and when you return home, the world is renewed in your eyes. One of the most famous quotations from Nachman of Bratslav, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od, that the world is a very narrow bridge. Vahikar, but the essence of experiencing the world. And most people finish that phrase, the ha'ikar lo lefached klal. The essence is not to be afraid at all. But that's actually an incorrect usage of Nachman's teaching. Rabbi Nachman didn't say lo lefached klal. He didn't say not to be afraid at all. He said lo lehit pached klal. Do not be paralyzed by your fear at all. Don't let your fear, in his case, depression, despair of what's going on in the world, be it a natural disaster, be it a pandemic, don't let it paralyze you from having a sense of faith in God and in humanity. So with that introduction, we invite Dr. Steve Marin to interpret the nigun, the melody of Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav and his statement that we should not be paralyzed by our fear or our despair. So Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav taught, as the hand held before the eyes can conceal even the greatest mountain, so the earthly life hides the enormous light and mystery of which the world is full. One can draw it away from before the eyes as one draws away a hand, and behold the great shining and awe of the inner world, of ourselves, of our humanity, and of God. We'll pause for a moment of silent prayer. Friends, in the holy city of Jerusalem, in the holy city of Jerusalem, there's a group that gathers a community together. They call themselves Nava Tehillah, pleasant praise. Their voices, their instruments, their melodies filled with a sense of hope and a sense of the reality, the renewal, the refreshment of soul that can be found on Shabbat. Here's a touch with familiar words, Oseh Shalom Bimramav, may the one who makes peace in the high places bring that peace to us, to Israel, and to all those who dwell on earth. So I invite you to join the pleasant praise of Nava Tehillah.
Thank you.
We join in special prayers and thoughts on behalf of those of our loved ones, our friends, our neighbors, those who are ill, those who are alone, those who are suffering, those who are hospitalized, facing or recovering from surgeries and procedures. We ask God to bless them with refuah shalema, with complete and whole recovery. Refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, renewal of body and of spirit. Page 253, the top of the page is the traditional Misha Berach prayer. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all those who are ill. In our congregation, we mention these names and turn our thoughts and prayers for their healing, for their wholeness, and their peace. We think of Chris Anderson, Avram Yekasiel Ben Gittel, Harvey Beam, Jerry Bellinger, Irene Case, Marty Cohn, Sebastian Den Liberto, Alan Delman, Heidi Demarest, Jerry Gale Feldman, Melissa Feldman, and Nancy Feldman, Bob Fleming, Lori Fly, Jeffrey Saul Gervan, Ruth Gossman, Kay Grask, Rebecca Halloran, Teresa Halloran, Larry Hoffman Rosenfeld, Dawn Kitts, Aggie Klieger, Sharon Loss, Billy Lawson, Werner Lawson, Dory Lessa, Wendy Levy, Sam Miller, Tim Orrick, Bernie Pincus, Marley Pincus, Roberta Rabin, Eric Rottenberg, Dory Roman and Mel Roman, Barbara Roswell, Abraham Raphael Ben Shoshana, Nancy Schwam, Lou Simon, Linda Smith, and Ruth Stevens. If there are other names of those of you who are at home or those in the sanctuary, if you wish to add other names, please. This interpretation is entitled, this musical interpretation is entitled A Misha Berach in a Time of Pandemic. It's composed and performed by a young woman named Leah Shoshana. She comes from Chicago. She participates in a youthful congregation. They call themselves the Tzedek Congregation, a synagogue that is devoted to social justice. This is her Misha Berach for a pandemic.
Misha Berach Avotenu Imotenu Yivarach et ha'olam Misha Berach Avotenu Imotenu Yivarach et ha'olam. May the source of healing in our lives bring healing to the world as we come together in prayer, lighting up our souls. When we remember that we are not alone, the circle grows. When we remember that we are not alone, it rings out to the world. Misha Berach Avotenu. Ve'imotenu Yevarach et ha'olam Yishberach.
There are a lot of people praying on YouTube right now. Just go ahead.
What?
Should I go ahead?
Yes, good.
With apologies.
Wait a second.
But again, offering a special prayer. Now on page 259, our connection to the state of Israel. Sha'alu shlom Yerushalayim, yishlahu ahavayich. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Sheba Shamayim Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo. Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Hagen Aleha be'avrat chastecha v'ufros Aleha sukat shlomecha. Ushlach orcha ve'amitcha l'rasheha sareha ve'yoseha. V'takneim be'etzat tova milfanecha. V'natata shalom ba'aretz. V'simchat olam liyoshveha. V'nomar amen. Please join with me, O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel. Bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And we say, Amen. Mike is going to play Hatikva for us. You are welcome to sing along the national anthem of the State of Israel. The words are on page 374. Continuing now with Aleinu at the bottom of page 282. Bottom of page 282. Again, the ark will be open for those in the sanctuary. We invite you to please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hachol, l'ateit gdula liotzer b'reishit, shelo asane k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gohor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. 284 שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו השמיים עמם ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אינו את
תורתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, והשבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ, יהי תחת עינו.
287, the top of the page. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hands but to conquer fear and doubt and despair together. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nehemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Friends, I hope that you notice the connection, at least the connection that we were hoping to provide, between those themes from the teachings of Rabbi Nachman, those themes and mitzvot that were given to us by the children of Israel of old, that we can within ourselves, and as we join together on Shabbat, light up the universe with joy, that we can conquer fear and doubt and despair, even in the presence of that against which we struggle, and that all humanity can find wholeness, freedom, and peace on such a day. And let us say, Amen. Our memorial prayers, I invite you to consider the preludes to the Kaddish prayer meditations that begin on page 288, continue through page 292. We pause for this moment of memory and sanctity. As a community, extended family and friends, we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, even during this past week and this past month. We remember Ralph Block, Terry Freed, and Jeannie Gordon. We remember those who died at this season in years past. We draw them into our hearts with our own at this season, in the weeks to come, anniversary of their yortzeit, of their passing. We remember Julius Bushman, Mel Feldman, Bennett Finkelstein, Pearl Gervan, Ruth Nathan, Blimma Sturman Friedman, and Gary Schachter. And we continue to honor the memories of those who have gone to their eternal home during the previous 11 months of the year. We remember Sarah Deitch, Michelle Kohana, Janelle Mitchell, Jim Mardinley, Lenny Rutenberg, Bud Stein, Ted Walden, Yetta Weston, Alan Winfield, and Loretta Ziegelman. Are there others whose names anyone would wish to mention here? In sanctity then and in praise to God, we join in rising together the words of the Kaddish on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei Beit Yisrael v'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru amen Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lolmei omaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei kudsha b'richu Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen Yehei shlomo rab min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'imromav Hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol b'nei Adam v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring comfort and peace to those among us who are bereaved, and may God, in answer to our prayers, bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity, to which we say, Amen. Zichronam livracha. May all those whose memories we acknowledged tonight, may there be for blessing. Please be seated. Again, I want to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom and give a special thanks to Ruth Ann Shapiro, to Mike Finkelstein, to Steve Marin. This has, again, been an experiment as we work to try to provide, in anticipation of the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the 10 days of awe that will be coming in about 6 weeks now, that we can provide a meaningful worship experience for only a few who will be in the sanctuary, but all of you who will be at home and joining us. As I mentioned earlier, my friend and colleague and former camper and student cantor Ross Wollman from Temple Chai in Phoenix has recorded for us many of the cantorial interpretations and solos for the High Holy Days, and we will be working together to weave those recordings in for our worship to be especially meaningful. We'll also have some Zoom discussions and schmooze opportunities so that the Holy Days can indeed be a time for our community to be together. We do have a service tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. What other announcements do we have to share specifically?
I just want to thank everybody out there for their patience.
Yes.
I know I messed up a little bit. I was
You didn't mess up a little bit.
Yes,
No,
I was experimenting.
I don't know if it came onto the recording, but we're aware that so many people all around the world, especially tonight, are tuned into YouTube and Zoom worship services for Shabbat. So it probably affected the speed at which all of the recordings would be available to people. But thank you for your cooperation and your patience with us. We have actually two further treats, musical treats. Some of you who have been worshiping with us on a regular basis know, or even from previous communities and congregations, that the words to Adon Olam, the ancient and familiar and holy hymn of praise to God, the eternal God, magically and mystically fit to many, many different compositions, ancient as well as contemporary. We listened to many to find one that was especially meaningful for tonight. And then after the Adon Olam, then Steve Marin on the violin also will be playing for us the Shabbat Shalom melody with which we always conclude our worship. But the Adon Olam, and I'll keep you in suspense as to which melody it will be. is here sung by Cantor Mark Joseph and members of his choir of the New West End Synagogue in Bayswater, London, England. Oh no, we need the ending.
Yeah, really.
Same place as the other one. Well, there is a 7-second. Okay. Yeah. Can we get to Steve?
Okay.
Okay.
Talk a little bit. Back over there.
I would start to play Shabbat, but I forgot to write down which key he's in. So.
Come on, start.
Oh, you-
Sorry. It's tired. We overworked it.
We
overworked it.
but it's divine service on Shabbos.
Yeah,
We don't go direct from YouTube anymore.
Yeah.
and it's the only way we can do it like this.
Amen.